KCDC, yeah, that's
Yeah,
the name. Yeah, Kansas City Developer Conference.
yeah.
So yeah, it was such a damn cool event. It was in the this Kansas City Convention Center, which is just this enormous, right, and I mean it's like a little corner of the building is where the conference was. But there
Yeah.
were, I think they said 1,800 attendees, ticketed attendees, and 140 some speakers, something
Wow.
just lunacy. It
Yeah.
was, it was uh, 15, 15 simultaneous rooms with a talk going on, right?
That's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, just the scope of the thing was crazy. And but smooth. And the I guess the middle day, the first day of the conference, there was a workshop day and then 2 days of conference talks. That middle day they ran out of lunch, so there was
Oh man.
there was a hiccup in the logistics. But other than that, I don't think there was a damn anything that. And you could see, I mean, the organizers are walking around and talking to people, and not frantically trying to deal with what I would expect,
Yeah,
right? If you're putting on a conference, I
technology
would think you're
hiccups and
scrambling. So yeah.
so yeah, super organized.
Yeah, totally,
What
totally.
did you attend? What kind of talks did you attend?
Very, very few, actually.
Really?
So yeah, I mean, for the most part, hallway track was what I was doing, just talking to people and stuff. I had taken some recording equipment, thinking, I was probably just going to spend Friday sitting down and recording and doing interviews, and I did
Hmm.
one, right? Matthew Renzi, somebody in the Facebook group said you should have Matthew Renzi back on the show. So I was like, so that one, we had kind of talked beforehand, and we planned on it. So that one happened, and then the rest, it was like, well, there was a room where I was going to record, and then it wound up that somebody else was doing something in there, and so I was kind of like, well, and at the same time, when there's so many people around and all that stuff, I just kind of feel like just enjoy the event, talk to people, and some of that
Yeah.
stuff, and just make sure I've got some email addresses to get in contact with people to do a Skype interview later. So I mostly just kind of let that drop and just enjoy the experience.
I thought most people, once the talks are happening, but maybe they're spaced out in a way that there's always people in the hallways, but I would think it would be like a dead zone in the hallways while everyone's talking, and then, or were they staggered?
Well, I
Uh,
think you might think that, but I think it depends on the nature of the person, right? I think most conference speakers are not as avid
Goers,
talk
yeah,
consumers, right?
yeah, yeah.
I think most of the time, it really, I mean, the speaker rooms at conferences are usually a pretty populated place, whether it's somebody who's doing kind of some last minute preparations for their talks, which actually the speaker room was a lot of that, a lot of people finishing their slides and, doing some of those kinds of things. And I think that's a lot more common than it probably should be, but it is the reality. And I was doing some of that too. But so, but I think speakers generally, pick and choose a few talks that they want to make sure not to miss. And other than that, it's hallway track is kind of become the thing. So and that's kind of where I was. I'd get talking to somebody, and it's all of a sudden 3 talks later, and I haven't seen any of them. But you know, I did go and sit in Nick Molnar's talk because he's just awesome, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss him and got to shake his hand. Being a guest on the show, I went to one of Corey House's talks. He did a couple of them, and I just,
Hmm.
him being the celebrated speaker that he is. For one thing, I wanted to see the content, but for another, I just kind of wanted to see, how he does what he does in front of an audience and that kind of stuff. So that was pretty cool. And it was, it was the biggest room that they had available, and it was overflowing. So,
Wow.
which,
But Nick Molnar is this entrepreneur guy, like a.
well, he works for Microsoft now. He and Anthony, his last name is escaping me, are the guys that created a product called Glimpse, and it got brought under the Microsoft umbrella. They were independent. I think that they were kind of entrepreneurial startup. I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty sure it's free, and it's open source. I'm pretty sure it's free. I'm not quite sure if and how they were monetizing it, but yeah. But then it came under Microsoft, and they became Microsoft employees. And I'm not completely sure how the nature of that agreement worked. I think he did say a little bit about it on the show, but I don't recall exactly. But he's a fun guy, man. That guy's cool. And his talk was, I mean, he's just peppering jokes in there one after another, and it just a hell of a cool dude.
Is it Afterpay? He created Afterpay.
Afterpay?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to find. I
don't know.
He's on Forbes. I don't know if this is the same guy though.
It's NIK.
NIK. Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
And then Matthew Renzi. I watched his plural site on clean architecture actually, and now that you mentioned it, I forgot who that was. So thanks for reminding me.
I think
he's British accent or something, right?
He's what?
He's got an accent, right?
No, that's somebody else too. Matthew, I don't think clean architecture. I think he's it mostly data science and machine learning kind of stuff is his Pluralsight stuff. I don't think he has a clean architecture one, but I could be wrong about that. I think he is a pretty broad guy with some varied interests, but
yeah, I just saw a GitHub page, RENZE.
Yeah, that's it.
Matthew. Yeah, he's got. Yeah, I think he's got a Pluralsight. I'll find it.
he is a Pluralsight author for sure. Yeah, I mean, and he's got quite a bunch of them.
Yeah, I think he has some like .NET basically.
Oh yeah, sure enough. Clean architecture, patterns, practices, principles. Yep, that's him.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty. Yeah, so he's got data science with R, clean architecture, beginning data visualization with R, lots of R.
Yeah,
I always wanted to try R out.
Yeah, there's there's a limitless list of things I'd love to try out.
Yeah, I was just trying out Apache Kafka and change data capture CDC. So it's like you can watch like MySQL bin log or SQL Server, changes on the tables and just automatically send a message into Kafka and then consume that. So basically real time ETL or monitoring changes so you can do whatever you want with them.
Cool.
Instead of bulk,
Yeah. It sounds a little bit like SQL Server replication, only not in the transactional path, I guess. More of a kind of consuming exhaust off of.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you can do what you will with it. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nice. Yeah, I was trying to find. Where's the hashtag for KCBC?
There's a lot of tweeting going on around it for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I think it's just hashtag.
I thought it was hashtag KCDC, but then I found some weird stuff on there too.
I guess KCDC could mean a lot of things.
Yeah. Usually they just put it like right on the page, but I don't see it. So that sounds like one of the most popular conferences.
It's really a great location when you think about it, kind of in the heart of the US. It's pretty central for, at least North American folks to get to. And so I think it's really, it's really nice for that. And just cool folks that organize it and fun, in addition to being kick-ass dudes, they're just, like to enjoy themselves.
Did you hear the name DST at all? It's DST, my parent company, is basically, as old as dirt in Kansas City. So, everyone knows DST in Kansas City because it's one of the.
I don't recall hearing that.
I wonder if anyone from the company attended. Probably not.
I don't know. There are a lot of people there. There's
Yeah,
probably some.
it's got to be somebody that's forward thinking company.
DST returns a lot of Google
Systems.
results about daylight savings time.
Yeah, you have to put the word systems at the end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but it is the first search result for DST, which is interesting, among a lot about daylight savings time. But
Yeah, I got DST systems right away.
yeah.
Cool.
So,
I'm
but yeah,
gonna
it was
try
a
to,
great trip. It was fun. It was fun.
nice. I'm gonna try to attend next year, man. It sounds really good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jose came out. I think we might have mentioned that on some of the hangouts. You may have been around, but yeah, he bought a ticket
Wow.
and got himself here.
Did
So
you
it was
run
cool.
into him at all, or
Yeah. I hung out with him and Sean a bit.
are you talking
You
about
know,
in Kansas City or in Denver?
in Kansas City.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And Sean Rakowski as well, who's been on not as consistently on the hangouts as Jose, but
Yeah.
he's been on several of them. So yeah, that was kind of our little group. You know, the three of us were hanging out and stuff, and
Very cool.
got a couple pictures and some of that stuff. You know,
That's the first time meeting in person.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
both of those guys. Yeah,
Jose short. Uh, I can't tell anyone's height, right? Because everyone's sitting all the time.
yeah. Well, yeah, I started giving Jose a hard time about his height when I saw the picture of him with Scott Hanselman, and Hanselman towers over him.
Right.
And I've seen Hanselman in person. I don't think I've really talked to him face to face. I'm trying to remember. I mean, it was a long, long time ago. He was at an event in Denver, and I don't think I really got to stand right next to him. But I don't think he's a terribly big guy anyway. But yeah, he made Jose look short. So I was like, oh man, you must be tiny. And so, but yeah, he was what I expected based on that photo for sure.
So there he is.
Yeah.
Sean as well, I would think, but
Yeah, Sean's probably pretty average height, maybe a little below average, but yeah, I don't know, maybe average. I don't know. It's funny how
you're
you
tall.
know I can have these experiences meet people, and it's like, well, do I really remember that? How,
Right.
is my I do that with movie quotes too, right? I'm so sure that I've got it exact, and of course, I've got the gist, but then I actually hear it, and I'm like, that's not how I remembered it.
Right. It's like, I'll be right back. No, it's I'll be back.
Yeah. Where did that come from? Yeah. So, but yeah, it was cool to meet folks. I went to a little bit of a couple other talks. I think those two were probably the only ones that I sat through for the entire duration of it. I was in a couple others for a bit. There was Heather Downing, right, who is part of the Facebook community and was on the show, and she's it was John Mills that told me, hey, you should have Heather on the show. Was he being one of the KCDC organizers, so getting to meet her was awesome, and so I sat in a significant portion of one of her talks, but had to go talk to somebody out of there. I think that might have been when Jose was texting me was when I was in that one, so I went to go talk to him. But
yeah, I'd imagine there wasn't much time to kind of sync up with them, but
yeah. Yeah, it is kind of I think the two of them hung around each other more than I did, because it was like there was a couple times too that I was with Sean and Jose, and I would go to get a cup of water and get meet 7 people on my way back, and by the time I come back they're somewhere else, and so it was definitely one of those things where so many distractions to really go too deep with anybody, but nonetheless, definitely cool.
So I guess you're not motivated to do any submissions to speak any of these conferences, or it's more for the
Well, I think
hallway talk.
Well, I think the hallway talk is the big thing, but submitting talks for one thing, getting in front of an audience is always a good thing. For one thing, for just self promotion and some of that stuff, but also just practice, right? Just the get up there, face the fact that it's not necessarily always easy to do, and just do it. Make yourself do something that's not necessarily comfortable. So that stuff's good. Then get a free ticket to the conference, and most of them will do a night or two in the hotel or whatever to go to the conferences. So yeah, I think I should be doing more conferences than I have been, and I think the as much as I enjoyed this one, I think was definitely an indication that it's a path that I should be doing more of.
Yeah.
And, I mean, have to balance that, of course, with how much travel I'm willing to do. And that's really been the reason that I haven't done more of it before. But,
yeah, you could technically work remotely potentially, right? Or not really. I guess it's going to be during the day, so you'd have to.
Yeah. I think the idea that I'm going to be really working while at a conference, it's technically feasible, but it's not the way to really get the benefit out of a conference. So.
Yeah, I would think I kind of equate it to music tours, right, with bands. And as a musician, as a band, you're touring with other bands, and there's the one show that you do, and then you're on the sidelines, and then there's the after parties, and the I don't know, there's just a lot of people around, and then you go from city to city, and imagine that's what it's like. But, it's very similar to conference talks.
Yeah.
You have your talk. It's the same performance almost every time. Might tweak it every time, and then you move on to the next city. And I guess it's without the drugs and the sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah. Groupies was what I was thinking about there. Yeah.
Groupies, yeah.
I'm not aware of conference groupies. Maybe there is such a thing, but software conferences anyway.
Probably out there. It's got to be out there.
Yeah.
Well, because with bands, the fans tend to idolize, right? And I think that's what happens when you have a speaker. We idolize them because they're able to get up there, and I think I even mentioned that before. But
yeah,
it's I think with conferences, the speakers are much more friendlier or willing to. They're more human than bands. Bands, they get an ego, and they're like, oh, I'm on top of the world, and I'm just doing what I love, and having sex and whatever, and just touring and for free and whatever. But that's not what it's about for tech conferences.
Yeah. And generally, I think that's true, that the people are approachable and cool, and Sean kind of had a little bit of an experience that he reported of not necessarily feeling completely welcomed in some of the speaker circles and some of that stuff. And, that's, I guess that's not shocking that, that
right.
There is kind of a cliquishness among some people who get a lot of accolades and some of those things. But yeah. I haven't really experienced that myself, so I'm take everything with a grain of salt. But it's.
I imagine they have a lot to relate to. I mean, they're all kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And then they meet up once a year. It's almost like their own clique, like you said.
Yeah.
Friendships amongst those that are speaking, and they run into each other all the time, and they're at the same conferences.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's cool too. A few people, telling me about, listening to the podcast and, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so
some people,
it's nice. Yeah.
So you didn't get many people to interview, you said?
Didn't actually record in person. Like I had thought, hey, this is a good opportunity to do that. I did though. I've got several people on my calendar now that I met at the conference. So it's, not that different. In fact, I think the recordings come out nicer remotely, which is, it's kind of counterintuitive, but at the same time, it's just technologically
Yeah, the
simpler.
quality will be better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
And
think
then no
it
editing.
works out good that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess yeah, I often see interviews at conferences and then you can't hear them well, the microphone's bad, and the interviewers kind of like they're caught on the fly. They can't think of the questions or they're not
Yeah.
sure to answer. Or often these people get asked the same questions all the time. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and,
It's easy to have notes in front of you, and well, I mean, just like we're sitting here, I've got a browser on the screen over on the side, and then I'm looking at you here, right? And
right,
I can go search for DST, right? And,
right,
and yeah, I can have notes about the interview, sitting next to the Skype screen where I'm talking to the person. So, yeah, it is a more comfortable experience for sure.
different dynamic.
Yeah. And yeah, and so the tomorrow's episode is going to be the one with Matthew that I recorded there. So, and it doesn't sound as good, right? Here I've got, this microphone, and the guests have a varying degree. Matthew's microphone, as a Pluralsight author, he's got a nice setup too, and,
Yeah.
and and a lot of the guests do have that. And usually quieter rooms, and all of that stuff. And so yeah, it tends to sound nicer. And I got these lav mics that I use for kind of my road setup, for on-site kind of stuff, and they just don't sound as good. And so either I go down the road of trying to figure out what's better equipment, that's cost effective and all of that stuff, and that's probably not too hard to figure out. But it's
I
is
guess
it
you would put oh right, you clip those are the clip ones, right? The
yeah, yeah,
lavalier mics.
lavalier, yeah. At least that's what I take the term to mean. That's been the context I've always seen it, as ones that are just clipped to the lapel. So I assume
Right.
that's what lavalier means. I guess I
Right.
don't know that for a fact.
I don't know. Yeah, I've never really heard the term that or heard them referred to as lav. I've heard lavalier. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
nice man. And so jealous now. I want to go on to one of these conferences.
yeah. It's fun. You ought to submit some talks, right? I mean, it's a lot better way than buying a ticket. Well,
Yeah.
depending, for some definitions of better, right? What do you value more? But
I wonder though, do they research you? Right? They must see, all right, what's his backing? What is there? How many Twitter followers? How many?
well, I
Do
think it
they vet you like that?
depends. So there are some conferences that make the claim, and whether it's true, I don't know, but they say that it's a blind process and they're looking only at the submission.
Mhm.
And I mean, a lot of the motivation for that is diversity and some of that kind of stuff, right? That they want to make sure that they're not letting their bias get in the way of selecting women or minorities or what have you.
Right.
And so I think that's a lot of the motivation to that, but it also will serve the purpose of letting some speakers who aren't necessarily household names,
Yeah.
have equal footing, to the extent that it works and to the extent that they actually do it, which I suspect is probably less than it's claimed. But, so
Yeah, There's got I there has to be some kind of reason that everyone does, everyone speaks it because I mean, obviously they get paid to do it, and but there are smaller conferences where they're not necessarily paid to speak, I think, right? I mean,
well, I think very few conferences, at least software conferences, pay speakers. I mean, they do
yeah,
pay for, well, some of them
right,
pay for travel in some capacity, right? I think very few will pay airfare. The huge ones like NDC, right? When I went there, they paid, not played. They paid for a transatlantic flight and a multi-night hotel stay and all of that stuff. And most of them aren't going to do that. KCDC
yeah,
does not pay for airfare. They do 2 nights in a hotel, which is enough to deliver your talk. And if not a whole lot a flexibility for beyond that. And I mean, their tickets are dirt cheap. The price of KCDC is ridiculously low. I cannot believe how cheap that conference is, which might be a case for don't submit and just go buy a ticket. But
right. Well, it's interesting again to compare that to bands, because with bands you have a band manager or a tour manager, like someone, like if you're nobody, you need to do everything yourself, and not a lot of venues are gonna kind of hire you or pay you because you don't have a following, right? You're not going to be selling tickets, or you're not going to populate the venue with people. And if you're not popular, if there's a whole list of non-popular speakers, and you're probably not going to sell as many tickets or something like that.
We will never have a triumphant rock video until we get Eddie Van Halen on guitar. Yes, right. But we will never get Eddie Van Halen on guitar until we have a triumphant rock video.
Right. The chicken or the egg.
It's another one of those movie quotes that I'm sure I've got it's wrong in some way, but that's my recollection of how it went. Of course, Bill and Ted. Yeah. I think that might have been the second movie, but I'm not sure. But yeah. A funny sentiment. But yeah, chicken and egg is exactly what that is.
Yeah, I think it was the first one.
Maybe it was. Yeah. I loved that first movie. God, it was brilliant. I mean, it was so well done, and a lot of lessons to learn, and believing in yourself, and the historical context that it was cool.
Like, don't skip school, kind of learn history for real. By going there and experiencing. I'd like to see that again. I don't think it's on Netflix.
I did watch it with my kids. I had to, they got old enough to understand it. I was like, yeah, this is a movie we should check out. So I did watch it. Not probably not within the last year, but probably pretty close to it.
Nice. See if they have that.
Of course, I have a hell of a time staying awake watching any movies these days anymore, which is probably my age.
What about, yeah, I can't stay past 10.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Adventures in Babysitting with the kids? Or
no,
at all?
I remember when that movie came out. I don't think I've probably seen pieces of it, but I don't think I've ever sat down and watched it.
Oh man, it's great. I mean, I remember it to be great. I don't know if it's I was watching it again, but yeah, because it's got like Thor in it, in a sense. Like the girl, one of the little girl in the movie is loves Thor, and she has like the helmet and the hammer, and she thinks she meets him as a car mechanic, and it's like it could have been Thor. Like it was supposed. I don't know. It's a funny movie, man. It's
yeah.
To my list. Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh man,
I'm just going down this list now.
Yeah, just the time frame. I guess this is what that is.
Yeah, you got to catch up as a young kid, I guess, right? I mean, just like you have to know all the oldies, music-wise. You should know the classics.
Yeah,
those would be underground films, I would think.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've shown the kids, all kinds of, The Naked Gun and Airplane, and just a bunch of fun old movies that I enjoyed immensely, and they've really gotten a kick out of those too. Spaceballs, they liked Spaceballs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then, well, wasn't there a Planet of the Apes reference at the end of Spaceballs?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But Planet of the Apes I've never seen fully. Never.
There have been so many of the movies. I know I saw the original one. It's a little hazy. I don't remember much about it. the gist basically. There's one of the remakes was I really liked. It was with Marky Mark, and it was like the end. He winds up at the Lincoln Memorial, and it's just
Right.
it was pretty cool. Yeah,
And realistically, that would never happen in a timeline, but
yeah,
it's like all the same events as, well, I don't know, it
yeah,
can be interpreted as anything really.
yeah. Well, it just capturing the irony is the the purpose. So,
Exactly.
but it's good. Yeah. What's been happening with you, man?
Besides the,
The family stuff.
yeah, that's it. I mean, I've got a couple new people on my team. Um, hired a new senior guy. It's Irish,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, he's been kind of out of the Java loop a little bit for a while, but he's jumping back in, and I don't know. It's a lot going on at work, I guess, and we're still dealing with the acquisition, integration. There's just like tons of projects going on, and um, I don't know. It's super busy, but at the same time, like I'm still managing some of the infrastructure, and like I don't want to give it over to the ops teams because they're not practicing ops the way I would do it.
Mm.
More dev ops in a way. More scripted, more infrastructure as code, using some of the latest tools instead of like enterprise tooling. And so that's kind of torn between that. But since our CTO had left last year, he was doing a lot of the infrastructure, so I've had to do it. And it's not one of my passions, managing that. So
Yeah.
in kind of trying to figure out how to get it off my shoulders, but not to the point where we're losing efficiencies.
Yeah, that's a delicate balance. That's hard.
Yeah.
Not
And then,
exciting for
yeah, and then I have some people in India as well, and they're working at noon to 9 p.m. So this late shift. And so the only time I have is like if I get up at 7 a.m. If I can hook up with them at 7 a.m., I could go from 7 to 11:30 a.m. That's like the only time frame I have with them.
Oh, okay. That's
Um,
noon to 9 p.m. their time? Oh,
it's yeah. So they're 10 and a half hours ahead. So yeah, they're no noon is like in the middle of the night in the morning. But by 7 a.m. I'm wake up early.
yeah.
Like I have a baby, and it's like I have a choice every morning. I spend time with my child or spend time with India, and it's not something I want to abandon. I don't want to quality time with my baby. I think these are such crucial months, years, that
Yeah.
especially working, you're not going to be seeing the baby all day. So, um,
Yeah.
it's kind of like where are you spending your time, right? What is the value you're getting out of where you spend your time, and is it benefiting you? Is it benefiting others? And as at one point, it's like you can think of it as okay, there's someone on the other side in India that's going to be learning things. They're going to be getting paid. They're going to be working on it, feeling like they're on a team at least. Um, but if you neglect that, then you can focus on the baby. But if you focus on the baby, you're neglecting that. It's kind of where do you what do you focus on?
Damn you, opportunity cost.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
but
shitful. We need to be able to select everything, right? Select
yeah,
star.
yeah. I just feel the India model is what was prominent. It was something to consider, and I don't know if it's like there's got to be studies out there. I haven't done any research, but is it truly adding value? Because it's supposedly cheaper. Um, it's cheaper dollar hourly rate, if you will.
Yeah.
But but no one's measuring
The
the
overall
qualitative
cost.
and the
Yeah.
and quantitatively, like yeah, the time you're spending specifying things or communication gap. Is it really? I think it's breaking even or not at all at this point, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't had good experiences with trying to offshore pieces of application development. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I struggle with my buddy who's in San Francisco,
yeah,
3 hours
yeah,
behind. That's hard enough, you know.
yeah.
It's like every time, you know, I stay pretty late. I work from I get in like 9:30, and then I'll stay till 7. And you or sometimes I'm like, all right, finally I'm gonna leave at 6. And like right when I'm about to leave, my buddy in San Francisco's IMing me like, hey, can you check this out or review this? Or, you know, that's I'm stuck and let's review this together. And then it's like I was right about to leave. So it's gonna be long days dealing with India in the morning all the way to San Francisco, West Coast. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard.
yeah.
Yeah, and then with so at a company I was at, we had this well the CIO was or CTO, I guess, whatever the title is, it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter.
VP
Um,
of
yeah,
technology. Or,
yeah, he had a bunch of contacts and executives at this Indian company, and so we had a bunch of people work for us, and so there was an offshore team, and then we had an onshore somebody that came and stayed with our organization, and they were managing the team from our location with with them offshore, and then we had some consultants that came on site from offshore, and we interviewed all of them over the phone, and several of those consultants that I mean they were good in the phone interview, and when they
hmm.
got there, there's no way that was the same person that we talked to on the phone. It's
Right.
just it couldn't have been. There's no way. And I that's a pretty serious accusation to level, right? But I mean,
Well, it could happen with anybody, right? I mean, you just if if there's really no way to tell. I mean, we just encountered that recently. I mean, someone was is no longer with us, you know, really passed the test that we gave them many years ago. But still, once they joined, it was like, whoa, wait, I thought you knew everything. How did you even come out with the test results then? You know,
yeah.
it's very easy to put up a ruse.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one thing to be able to answer the quiz show questions, right? I mean, that could just be, somebody is feeding you answers or something along those lines. But conversational skills, right, and being
No,
able to interact, there were major differences. It was not, I don't know. I could have been making it up, but I have a hard time believing that.
well, yeah, I mean, I think that's the one of the most important things. I got done reading Crucial Conversations.
Oh, I still want to read that.
Excellent
Yeah.
book. Yeah, excellent. I mean, I was having all these epiphanies and I was listening, I was doing Audible, but I was just like, why don't they teach this in school? Like, I don't. If the world would be a much better place if we knew how to have proper dialogue with each other, like without, you know, thinking we're being offended or I don't know. There's just so many scenarios that it addresses from you know, having deep conversations with your spouse about something the way you want them to change, something you want them to something you want to change about them, and all the way to you know just dealing with your kids uh,
Cool.
and it's actually going along with this other book I'm reading now, which is Easy to Love, Difficult to Discipline, and that's more about you need to get your shit together before you can discipline your kids. And you know, very similar concepts about changing the way you think about negative intent to positive, and changing it to positive intent, giving your kids choices instead of telling them what to do. And if you want something to happen, if you want someone to change, you want them to do something you want them to do, you have to, one, make them, well, this is now crucial conversations, but you have to make them feel safe, in the conversation. And then you want to make sure you have your goal, right? Whatever it is you want to happen from the conversation, keep that focused on that. So if it starts to go off on a tangent, or they get defensive and you start to get defensive, just keep it back into, all right, well, I really wanted you to do this, and I don't know, I could go on and on.
Yeah. Sounds very relevant. At the risk of starting a conversation that would take hours, right? It sounds very relevant to this whole Google thing, right?
The recent article the guy came out with.
Say that again. I didn't quite catch that.
The one with the bias, gender.
Oh, right. Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah. Just the safety, right? There's, so much. I'm coming to the conclusion anymore that there aren't really two sides to any of these issues. There's the same side with, it's demonization of the other, and whether it's whether it is sexism and saying that women are lesser, that's demonization of someone who's other than you, or whether it's saying that somebody else, accusations of sexism is the same thing, right? It's a demonization of another, and nobody listens to each other anymore. It's shitty. It's shitty, and it bums me out, and it's depressing, and it's sad. And it's I mean, people have talked about this endlessly, but holy shit.
Read the whole thing, but I did read follow-ups, people quoting the article, and it wasn't too data driven, I didn't think, right? Everything he was talking about.
Oh, the guy himself and his position. Well,
it's like generally this happens. It's like, well, where are you basing that information off?
So the posted version of the memo has at the top, it says, well, there were links and citations in there, and we've stripped those out. And so, okay, So I don't know, right? Who knows what the data behind the thing were, and all of that kind of stuff. So I mean, and I don't, I don't want to try to get into, is the guy right, is the guy wrong? But I just see so much of this, the guy's a dickhead, or the people criticizing the guy are dickheads, and it's just, when does it stop, right? I mean, it's an arms race of, you are a scum human being, and there's nobody that says, hey, let's take a step back and say, hey, you know what? A lot of people with good intentions may have different perspectives on the thing, and where's the safety, right? And that's why I thought it was relevant to what you were saying, right, with these crucial conversations, right?
Yeah.
If you can't feel safe in the conversation, you cannot, and all the way to firing, right? If you speak your mind, then your job is going to be gone. That's a shitty place to be.
Yeah.
And it's. And not to say that there aren't things that could have been in that memo that would be fireable offenses, right? I mean, I would not want somebody working for me if they said that women are lesser and that they should not be working with me. Well, yeah. If that is what he said, then yeah, get rid of him. I don't think that that's what the thing said, but that's
if no one knows, then he didn't do a good job of explaining himself. I don't know.
Yeah.
There should be, I mean, and back to the safety, part of it's like, if you lose that, which clearly he did, then they say it break into silence or violence. It's like one or the other, and so either someone just reserves themselves and they're like, oh, I'm never gonna talk to this guy ever. or it's violent, and to restore all that, you kind of have to, find like a mutual purpose,
Mm.
um, and bring the respect back into the conversation. And that's when you blog, there's no conversation at all. It's just like a one-way binding
Yeah.
to the
Throw
medium.
stuff out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw it out. Yeah, you might get comments on your blog, but it's only the giant celebrity bloggers that have huge traffic that really get a meaningful number of comments, and that's probably a very, very small fraction of the people that are actually reading the
Yeah.
stuff.
You probably could have used that for some lucrative measures. Had you thought about it? I don't know. Maybe I wonder if
Well,
you
I think
do a
he certainly can
breakout.
now, right? I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, he's you know very well known, and
Yeah.
certainly sitting on a
It's one
gold
way to
mine
go
if he
down.
wants to cash in on it.
Yeah, he's fired from Google, right? I think.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a wild thing, but yeah, safety matters, and it's a two-way street.
Yeah. So I would recommend reading that for sure.
Heck yeah.
Um,
I know Jamie Romanowski mentioned that one as on the
right.
podcast, and that's
And it's all like tied together. At least it was for me. What happened was like I was in these leadership courses at work, and at the same time reading the Phoenix Project, and Phoenix Project mentions the five dysfunctions of a team, and like I was reading five dysfunctions of a team for that course all at the same time, and it was just like all of the the messages were just coming together, and they're all saying the same exact thing.
yeah.
And I don't know if it means, if everyone's saying it, does it mean it's true? But they're all very practical. And the other thing that I just read was extreme ownership, how Navy SEALs lead and win. And
Hmm.
again, same kind of concepts about leadership and mission control. Uh, you know, Not really telling people what to do, but giving them mission and letting them buy into it so that they're aligned and they have to know the why. Um, and extreme ownership is like, if shit's hitting the fan and you don't like the way everything is and everybody's, you know, poor quality or, whatever their situation is, it's actually your fault. You should take ownership of it as a leader. Um, and so he goes into these businesses now with these. I mean, first of all, he tells these amazing stories about being in Iraq and situations they're in, friendly fire. They were like miscommunicating where their positions, and here they were firing at each other, and then it turned out to be blue on blue, which is Navy SEALs on American fighting against American soldiers, and they freaking turned that whole situation into a training program for the Navy and the military. So that's why this guy got famous. He's like his name is Jeko. Oh, what is it? Jeko. Well, anyway,
Oh, is that Jocko Willink guy?
Jocko. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard him on a bunch of podcasts. Yeah.
yeah. The content of that book, his vocabulary was not too diverse. They kept using the same way to describe, shooting. He was like, "We shot with deadly accuracy," and they kept using that word every time.
Yeah.
But to hear the stories they put themselves through, I mean,
Jeez.
that book was hard to get through because I don't condone murdering others, even if like those others are murdering. Like there has to be another way to solve violence without like causing more violence.
Agreed.
Um, even if there's a long term or short term violence happen, like there's got to be an underlying problem there.
Yeah.
And so like these stories, the way they talk about it, they're talking about just like they're so on edge to just get the enemy and kill them, and they were being attacked too, and they just want to kill them, and they're just talking about how they want to go home to their families, and they're upset that some of the other Navy SEAL members, got blown up or whatever in the first days, but then when they talk about the Iraqi troops they had to not fight with, but alongside with, and against the rebel militia there, they're talking about how they were going to kill them when those people themselves had families. Like they went in, stormed in to their families' homes and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
it's one side or the other. And yeah, you're killing others, but there's still compassion there as a human.
Yeah.
That we should
I'm
have.
totally with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. War is hell, and it's senseless, and
Right.
it's sad. And, yeah, I guess, I don't think I would go as far as to say that there's never a good reason for war, but I think, has it ever actually happened in real life? I don't know. I don't know. And fuck,
Right.
that movie, the American Sniper movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, that was hard to watch, right? You'd see these guys busting down doors and sticking weapons in the faces of women and children in the homes, and I felt just sick at watching it. It's really it's conflicted feelings,
Well, that's
and
why you
it's
come back with post-traumatic stress, like
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I know there was a study on like monkeys or something where they had food and a teddy bear, and they eventually the baby monkey wanted the teddy bear even though he was hungry because he needed love. Like love is
Wow.
something humans need, uh, or else they're going to be developmentally, what's the word, challenged.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Stunted.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, short changed. I don't know, but yeah, yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck. Yeah, yeah. I think that those books make a lot of sense too, and the idea of don't command, right, is critical to the way I view parenting. And have you come across Love and Logic at all?
Mm-mm.
They're Colorado based, actually. It's these guys that have this. It's kind of a neat program. I'm not on board with everything that they have to say, but for the most part, it's very much the idea that you make agreements with your kids, right, and that you set examples, and instead of trying to impose consequences, the world takes care of that all on its own, right? Stop getting in the way of the consequences that the world. The simple example, and the one that my wife and I butt heads on all the time, is the way that she is always insisting to the kids, to take a jacket or any of those kinds of things.
Uh-huh.
Dude, cold will
Them.
take care of letting that lesson sink in. All bets. Let them learn that lesson, and they
Right.
will learn it themselves. But so yeah, I think as much as
That's
my wife,
funny.
she professes to be on board with Love and Logic, and of course I've got my blind spots too, right? Everybody does. So it's easy for me to point out her blind spots, but yeah, but yeah, that the whole idea of to me, discipline. When I say that somebody's discipline, somebody says they're disciplining their kids, I'm kind of that gives me pause, because I think the best way to discipline is not, right. There's I don't discipline my kids. I try to set an example, and I try to help them to understand the consequences of their actions.
Well, yeah, I
And
mean that's discipline. I mean, it doesn't have to have a negative connotation to it, right? It's
yeah.
because kids are wild. They're just wild animals. I mean, like if you don't show them anything, they're gonna get into trouble. So you have to
Yeah.
guide them, right? So that's disciplining them, I would
Yeah.
think.
Well, and they are emotionally immature, right? By definition, right?
Right.
That is the very definition of immaturity, is that you have not yet
Right.
matured. And
Yeah.
that's the nature of kids. And that's what I see with, with this Google thing, right? The way that people react to each other is the way that children react,
Yes.
right? I
Yeah.
am mad, and therefore I am going to make you feel the pain that you've made me feel.
Right.
Right? It is, and that is a cycle that never ends.
It's terrible. Everyone needs to read the Crucial Conversations, or else that whole debacle wouldn't
Yes,
happen.
yes,
Wow.
yes. Stop being toddlers is the lesson that I think
Yeah.
we have to take away from it all.
Well, maybe there is something that developmentally stunts everybody, and we remain as toddlers in that portion of our brain or something. I don't know. Or
Yeah,
we're not regulating whatever chemicals are supposed to help
yeah,
with that.
yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, when I saw my 11-year-old daughter the other day, and a clear injustice happened to her, right? That her sister, and I observed it, right? Most of the time it's kind of hearsay, and I don't know, but yes, I mean she her sister was unreasonable to her,
Yeah.
and she didn't react in kind. I was like, holy shit, right? And I mean, she blows up too, right?
Yeah.
She does have her shortcomings, but that she was able to do that, was that she was able to get past just the the retribution that is kind of instinct. Man, if we could just bottle that up and get it out there and get people to start
Drink
to
it. Yeah.
taste a little bit of that, maybe the world could be a better place.
I know. And then you got to think, is that all within the context of just being completely secure with money and food and shelter and water? Like what
Yeah.
what breaks down when you strip away those essential needs? It's like, do we have great dialogue even without those without their needs taken care of? I wonder, are these first world problems that we're dealing with, or I don't know.
Yeah. 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 When survival is a question, then all the other questions become something different. So
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
cool,
Dude, I should
man.
get going.
Yeah,
It's
so
my
ditto,
daughter's birthday
ditto.
today.
What'd you say?
It's my daughter's birthday today.
Oh, nice.
My
Wish
10-year-old is 10 today.
She's 10. That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
a great age.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're so fun. They're so fun. If Facebook was showing me pictures this morning from when she was 6, and it's like, oh my God, so much change,
Totally
so much
different,
growth. Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Emotionally more stable, I'd say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, yeah. Are you doing a birthday party or some kind of
Well, yesterday was the big birthday party, the sleepover, and all the girls, over at the house, and we went to this fun center thing, and did all kinds of games and all that stuff. So that was kind of the big doings. But we'll go to dinner with grandma tonight and do a
nice?
few other things. So yeah,
Awesome. Happy birthday to her.
yeah, yeah, and best wishes with the father-in-law and all the things
Yeah,
going
thanks.
on.
We'll see. We'll see you
Yeah,
by next week. What's happening? I'll keep you
yeah,
posted.
well, yeah, yeah.
All right, man. Take care. Have a good week. Talk to
All
you
right,
later.
okay, we'll see you. Bye.
See ya.